Welcome to another episode of From the Hart.
Yeah.
We're drifting a little bit differently here, which I think is great.
Yeah.
A couple of new things is number one, our guest, Greg Grunberg. Not your traditional leader from corporate America,
Right.
but I think we'll get into some really great leadership skill sets that he shares with us.
Well,
But
and his entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely. Very
entrepreneurial.
entrepreneurial. He has some things and talents that everyone could learn from.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most exciting things to me is that you were in studio with me. We
Yeah.
actually had the opportunity to be in studio at Greg's place up in Hollywood. And the set that our audience is going to see if they get the opportunity to watch this video is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And having you on set there with me to interview Greg was just a thrill, and I think hopefully a new model for us.
Yeah.
It worked out very well. What were your thoughts as you met Greg and saw the studio, and just takeaways from the overall interview?
Well, I think the thing that, because I've watched Greg for a long time. I remember watching him on Heroes. That was my first introduction to him. And then seen him on a lot of the other things he did. Watched him play on, I remember American Idol, Band from TV was there. Terry Hatcher was singing. He was playing drums. And I'm a drummer. So I was like,
Right.
He's actually good.
So, yeah, he is.
You know, like some of these celebrities, you think, oh, yeah, sure, they're not. No, he's a legitimate musician. And so we talked about Band from TV and just his whole journey in the entertainment space has been, he's done a lot. You mentioned, I think in the interview about his IMDb profile being very long.
Right.
He's done a lot of things. He puts in the work. And that's the thing that kept coming back to me throughout the interview is it's about the work. Yes, it's about a lot of other things. But if you're not doing the work, no matter what you're doing,
Right,
you're not going to succeed.
Yeah, and he's just a great example for any of us about how hard work and passion and love for people and enthusiasm can really just make you a more successful person. And I believe that's why he gets the gigs and the jobs that he gets, is because he brings an energy, and you'll see it here in a moment, to every set. I mean, he told the story about Al Pacino, which I'm really excited for our audience to hear.
Yeah.
You know, of
Hey,
just,
hey.
Yeah.
I won't even,
I'll let you
say it.
Yeah,
I won't even say it.
You're the
'cause
voiceover guy. I'm not.
No,
I'm
no,
not going to
no,
even venture into those
Well,
waters
we
at
don't
all.
ruin the joke. Like, it was good.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it was just exciting to sit with Greg. I've known him since his Band from TV days. That's how I met him in 2007, and it was a very entertaining interview. We laughed a lot, but we hit on some really serious things as well. His work with epilepsy and a lot of other things that he does in his life off screen. So I'm just excited for our audience to get this opportunity to experience a little bit of what we did. If you're listening, great. Hopefully you'll get an opportunity to watch as well, because you'll see some really neat things in studio as Todd and I sat down with our friend Greg Grunberg on From the Hart.
Hey, I'm Greg Grunberg, and this is my show now. Welcome to From the Hart.
Well, Greg, typically when we start out one of our episodes, we say, I'm with so-and-so and he's a such and such. But as I think about you and what you do, that's hard for me to pinpoint. Actor, comedian, musician, bartender today, obviously.
Yeah, welcome to my bar.
When someone asks you that you've never met, what do you tell them you are? You're a man of everything.
This reminds me of a really funny story. So when I got married at the wedding, my father-in-law, who I love dearly, he's giving a toast, and he said, when I first met Greg, I asked Elizabeth, you're dating this guy, what does he do for a living? And she said, well, he's an actor, and he's a director, he's a producer, and he plays music.
I know where this is going.
And then I asked her, but what does he do for a living?
Exactly, yeah.
Which I was like, that's a great way to start off the relationship.
Exactly,
in front of all of our family.
Yeah,
and
there you
everything.
go.
But it's one of those things that I go, I've been fortunate enough that if I get an idea for something or an opportunity comes my way, I will grab it. And, because I know that it's something that's organic, it's right in my lane, I can make it happen. So I'm just a hyphenate, man. I love, actor first and foremost, and acting is what's driven all of the philanthropy and the charitable stuff and music and everything. It starts with that for me, which is kind of backwards. It's just that the popularity of that then makes people interested to, like, well, I'm sitting here with you guys.
Sure.
But it's, acting, and then now I'm hustling. Let's just put it that way.
There you go.
I'm
You're
a
a
hustler.
hustler.
Yeah.
Which of it do you love most? Like, what's the thing that you're like, I love this part of all the hype?
I love being a stripper. That to
go.
me.
Yeah. Well, that's what's on the business card.
Exactly. Why is there a naked business card?
Hey, gotcha.
Gotcha idea.
Yeah, I love acting. I love showing up, killing it. When it works.
Yeah.
Making the people that I want to satisfy. I have one audience member when I'm acting, and that's the director. Like, that's one. I've already convinced. Like, the writer's already been like, wow, I really want. The audition came in, and he did a great job. But then when I get on the set, I want to blow the director away. I want to make him really, really happy. I love the idea of coming in, doing that and getting out of there.
Yeah.
There's
leave
something
them wanting more.
Totally leave them wanting more. Leave them talking about you more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When
Can't
you're
wait to get you in their next project.
Exactly. When you're directing, oh man, you're there before the sun comes up. You're there after the sun goes
You're
down.
the hardest working person on the set for sure.
And then writing, you're there. I mean, I write, graphic novels and I write scripts and stuff too. But producing, which I've, been doing a lot of recently, and writing and everything, and directing, it's nonstop. You're never not thinking about the project. You're months and months in advance of starting to shoot and have fun, and then months and months of post afterwards. So the idea of acting to me is just, it's like easy. It's not work. It's like, I really just absolutely love it. Yeah.
So how do you choose between yes and no on a project? Because I'm guessing you get asked to do a lot of things.
Yeah, but you see my IMDb. I don't say no to a lot of things.
It's a long list.
Paycheck?
It's
I'm
a
in.
long list.
Let's do this.
List. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I say no to people, but it's all about people for me. The project, from the smallest little project, if I meet someone, Big Ass Spider, which we've talked about in the past, there's a cult classic sort of. I don't want to use the word cheesy, but it's a cult classic sci-fi comedy,
Yeah.
And I met with Mike Mendez and the guys at Epic Pictures, and when they showed me what they'd been working on, the special effects of a little ant walking through the city, and like they had already,
it just kind of grows and grows.
but to see where their imagination was, to see how we clicked, it's all about the people.
Yeah.
The process is going to change throughout. It's like any job. Honestly, I tell people, I'm like, well, what's the person like? Because that's who you're. It's
Ultimately,
a marriage.
it's the
You're going to be living with.
relationship, yeah.
And if you love that person, if you're like, wow, they inspire me. I want to be around that person. Do it.
Absolutely.
Even if it's crap to begin with, you'll make it great together.
The experience of being with the person, that relationship that you're developing. That's what I get about you. I picked up on that when I met you back in 2007 when you and Band from TV came and performed. Yeah, I met Greg Grunberg, the drummer, and the leader of the band, so to speak. But I know there's a lot of history there. How did you?
Diva.
The diva.
I mean, what a pain in the ass I was, right?
What's your writer?
No comment.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you should just green M&Ms in the locker room.
Oh, it was just the
just
worst.
like Van Halen.
It's terrible. I need
Exactly.
my picture on every M&M.
Yeah.
We had to get Flyers gear for everybody for that one.
Oh, we loved it.
Here. Yeah, we have you guys. We have still a video of you guys on stage all wearing your Flyers gear. I just watched it the other day.
That was
with you
so
and
much
Jamie.
fun. But that's the kind of thing that we came down and we supported. It
was amazing.
It was so great. It was great exposure for us because the Fullerton Flyers, there was a big crowd and everything was great. But opportunities like that, and a lot of times I'll say yes, and then months down the road, I'm like,
why did I do that?
yeah, because when it rains, it pours, like, with scheduling.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
One yes means 30 yeses now.
But, inevitably, it's all about like, okay, I did this with this person, like you're saying, and then hopefully we'll work together again. But I love doing, you can't, you should never have that mafia mindset. I never have that where it's like, I'm doing this for you. You'll do
You owe me
for
something.
me.
You scratch my
That
back,
doesn't
I'll
work.
scratch yours.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
So
last,
I don't
it
have to
doesn't
do
work.
anything for you then after this today?
Absolutely not.
Sweet.
No,
Off the hook. Very good. I love
Exactly.
it. How did you pull those guys together? I'm curious how that. I mean, we're going to go everywhere today, wherever you want to go.
Yeah, but no.
As I'm thinking about the things where I know you personally, Band
Yeah.
from TV is where it all started for me with you. How did you get those guys together to do it? I mean, I know it was all for charity, all the work you did, but
Yeah, but
beyond that,
that's-
there's a lot of guys who won't do it. How did you get those guys to say yes?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, so I was a drummer. I've always been a drummer,
Right.
and so there was this event in Hollywood, and they were like, we want actors to join these musicians on stage and play one song. I was on Felicity, so I was like, okay. I talked to Robbie Benedict, I talked to Amanda Foreman, who actors with me on the show, and others, and then we were like, okay, let's go play. So we learned Cheap Trick, Surrender.
Surrender, yeah.
And so we were like, okay, and we go. I didn't know that Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead and these other monster musicians were going to be on stage. All I had to do was sit down and play the drums. I wasn't singing the song.
Yeah.
Robbie was singing the song, whatever. And it's one song.
Right.
But anyway, we get there, and I'm walking down the carpet, and I see the press is going nuts. They're like, don't you think you're going to fall flat on your face? Aren't you nervous?
Not
You're an
now, but
actor."
I might now.
That's
right?
a good
like, now
intro.
that
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
putting
the
that in my
vote of
head.
confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was keenly aware of the attention that I was getting on the carpet. I was like, wow, this is, and I just put it in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Years later, I'm working on an episode of House, and I meet Hugh Laurie, who is maybe the most talented guy that I've ever met.
Keyboardist, vocalist, yeah, he was awesome.
But incredibly humble too. Like never let on. Oh, I also play the keyboards. Oh, I also play the guitar.
Right.
I was, years later, after we started the band, I see him on the Tonight Show, and he pulls a guitar out and he starts playing. I'm like,
I've seen that.
You.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been
When are you
hiding
gonna
this
tell
from
us
me.
Yeah.
we're in a band together? You know, he's just the best and so creative, so funny, so great.
And that dry humor too.
Yeah, and never look at me. Look at me. Right. He would rather be in the back. He's just the best, the best. Anyway, which is what the band is all about. You know, no pun intended or pun intended. It's all about the heart of these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to use a charity band to expose yourself as a musician,
You got the wrong
which
intent.
we've never actually come across, but I can smell it out sometimes, and I'm like, nah, they're in it for the wrong reasons or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to so years later, I do an episode of House, and I was like, Hugh, you know, I know you're a musician a little bit. He's like, yeah. And then James Denton asked me, who's a mutual friend of ours, he asked me to do a reading of for a charity thing, of a script, and he pulled out a guitar, and I'm like, okay, I'm putting all these pieces together.
Back of the mind to front of the mind.
Yeah, Bob Guinea was one of the
Bachelor.
major reasons why the band started.
Yeah, I've heard you say he was the real musician in the group.
Yes. Yeah. So Bob Guinea is, he had the Bob Guinea Band, and he's so incredible. Everyone knows him as The Bachelor. Now he's been a very successful host on TV for many years. But Bob started with the Bob Guinea Band, and truly a really great musician. So I had met him at Chris Harrison's, who's the host of The Bachelor. His mom does a charity event in Dallas. So I met in Dallas him. I'm putting all these pieces in my head together. I get a call from TV Guide. They're doing a post-Emmy party. And they said, we're doing this post-Emmy party. It'd be kind of cool. You have that TV band, right? And I was like, and I did not have a TV
Didn't
band.
have a name
Because of the
band
Felicity Band, they're referring to that.
Yeah, but it wasn't even a Felicity band. It was like a couple actors from Felicity
You performed
joining
with some
other
actors on stage
Gotcha.
once, and now you have a band.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm on a set shooting something with Robert Davi, who's a great actor. We're shooting something, and I'm on the phone. I'm like, I'll be there in a minute. I'm talking to TV Guy, and they said, we're doing the post-Emmy party. Is your band available? And I was like, yeah.
Say yes now, figure it out later.
Right. Suddenly I'm like John Lovitz. I'm like, yeah, that's the ticket. Sure, I got a band. I got a big band, and they're very expensive. And we're a charity band, so all the money, you know, we give to our charities. So anyway, I said no. They offered a huge amount of money. I said no before I even had a band. I was like, no, that's not enough money. Hang up the phone, do a scene, come back. Phone rings again between scenes. They double the money. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's
close.
not going to do it.
Yeah, you're
I was
getting
like,
close.
and when I'm not going to say how much, I'll tell you off, Mike.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous amount of money,
Yeah.
but it's all going to charity.
Right.
So I said, and that was in my mind.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, it ended up being a crazy amount of money, and now I got to put a band together.
Exactly.
So I call Hugh, I call Jamie, I call all the guys that I know. First, I call Bob and Brad Savage, who is my producing partner, who I've known for many, many years. Yeah. Brad and I had a garage band with Chris, for many years. Chris Kelly is a brilliant musician, and Barry Sarna, and these guys, we had played in a garage for years. So I'm like, okay, I know I've got the backup of the band. I didn't know we were I'm sorry, I'm spending an hour and a half on the band, but this is my passion.
Well, you said at the beginning, this is your show, so go for it.
Exactly. Welcome back to
The Greg
from
Grunberg-
the Greg Grunberg Heart.
From the Grunny.
Yeah, from the Grunny Heart. Anyway, call these guys, and they were all like, yeah, sure, let's get together. So we went to this great place called The Alley. It's a rehearsal space. We got together. We started working on stuff, and then we played. And that night, post-Emmy party, we were the band, and the opening act was Kanye West,
No way.
before anybody knew who he was,
Awesome.
and Pink.
What?
Yeah, and I was like, and I didn't know who these people were.
Wow.
I was like, whatever.
So they had
Kanye-
the big bold letters, and then down here, band from TV.
No, it was the
No,
opposite.
other way,
It was
right,
totally
exactly.
opposite. It was like, Puppet Show and Kanye West. I mean,
Right.
that's basically what it was.
Yeah.
It was so, and by the way, so Kanye gets up and I'm like, who is this guy? He was
This
guy's legit. Yeah.
beyond legit.
Legit.
Like at the time, it was like, what is this?
Yeah.
He just blew everyone away. And then Pink, of course, was great. So we joke that Pink and Kanye opened for us that
Right.
night.
There you go.
Couldn't be
You put them on the map.
further from the truth.
You
put them on
I
the map.
put Pink and Kanye on the map.
Still
That's
to
my-
this day,
yeah,
people
yeah.
are like, didn't you
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
for-"
Didn't they just call you a second ago on the
Yeah,
phone?
that guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, and now, I don't know, 14 years later, 13 years later, that's a charity band. So we've played many. We've played The Tonight Show. We've played American Idol.
Yeah.
We've played
Fullerton Flyers.
Fullerton Flyers.
Come on.
We played on the field in Chicago when the Cubs and the White Sox played.
Awesome.
We were on the field. We played. I mean, we've done some things that
Super cool.
Yeah.
super cool that I can't. We played the Alamo Dome and Hootie and the Blow. Darius Rucker's
Darius Rucker,
band
Darius, yeah.
played after us. And Darius, we got on stage, and Darius was like, I don't even want to go on stage. You guys kill it. So
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
You guys are great.
we should be called Low Expectations because you see a bunch of actors on stage and you go, how good can this be? And then suddenly, you're doing the terrible dance. Everybody loves.
Call it exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
Because it's low, but then they come out of there going, wow, that was pretty awesome.
Familiar faces playing familiar music.
Yeah.
For many good causes, mine being epilepsy, and everybody else has a charity they support. And now we've been asked so many times to play Comic Cons that I put together a new band called the Action Figures. And the Action Figures, everybody on stage has an action figure.
That's awesome.
So it tells you the level of popularity and also genre-based work that we've done, and it's really cool. Scott Grimes joined the band a couple years in. And no offense to Bob, because they're both incredible musicians, but I have yet to work with, and we've worked with, John Mayer got on stage.
Right.
Scott's going to hate me for saying this, but I think Scott is one of the best musicians that I've ever been in the presence of. He's just so naturally talented. It's incredible. So, but it's like we've added now to these bands, we've added Adrian Pasdar and Scott Grimes. Well, Scott's been in it forever. But Dan Fogler, who's an amazing actor, and Sarah Wayne Callies, and we just played, and we had Carrie Elways, and all these great, Melissa Joan Hart, incredible people, Drew Powell, like all these great people. And when we go to Comic-Cons, all these people are like, hey, I want to get up. So it becomes this just incredible.
Yeah, because you've had, just for us, you've had Terry Hatcher, you've had Bonnie Somerville, you had
Bonnie Somerville, another person.
Hayden Panettiere also.
The most incredible singing voice.
Bonnie
Somerville, who's, by the way, an amazing actor.
Right.
She, though, when she belts it out.
She was awesome.
Incredible. And
had
Terry.
that Bonnie Raitt kind of feel a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Incredible.
Yeah. The first time I saw Band from TV was the American Idol with Terry singing. And I saw you playing drums because I was a big Hero fan. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's a good drummer. Like, and you're all super talented. No, and I played the drums and I watched this. I'm like, it makes me want to go practice. Like, it's one of those kind of things where you are all crazy talented. And that blew me away.
It's again, it's low expectations. I say that as a joke, but it's really true. It's like when people, and it's familiar. We have a couple of originals. We did a thing. We did a Christmas song. There's a Christmas song people can look up called "Christmas Crime" that Scott and Nick Marzak. We have another great musician, Nick Marzak, who joined the band. But now, it's mainly all covers.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. When you go to a party or you're at a charity event or whatever, I'm sorry. I love Kevin Bacon. A friend of mine, we did Hollow Man together. Like, the Bacon Brothers are one of the only kind of legit celebrity bands out there. Besides them, I don't want to see anybody else. I want to see covers.
Well, wasn't that your CD, Hogging All the Covers?
Yeah, exactly.
I
Hogging All the
I
Covers.
thought that was perfect. That was such a great name because it's just Band from TV, Hogging All the Covers.
Yeah, and don't take it so seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you hear Bob Guinea sing, you're like, what is going on?
You go to a band where you expect it to be great. It's like, that was a great show. You go to you guys, like, the feedback I was getting from our fans and from sponsors and everything, they were really good.
Yeah.
And so there you go.
It's so much fun. And then I belt out. I sell songs. I get up there and I do, like, She Caught the Katy. Like, I'm a big Blues Brothers fan. And I'll do, I did Bad Bad Leroy Brown. I do now. And, it's just like that kind of fun kind of stuff. We try and stay contemporary. Like, that's the one note we get because we're all a bunch of old farts now. It's like people are like, do you have anything in this decade? It's like,
but that was a little too high. I can't go that high anymore. That's out of my register.
Right, exactly.
All right, so you mentioned a name, and we just staying on the Band from TV one more second here. We talked a little bit earlier. So I had an opportunity to come up here with some friends right before you came and performed in Fullerton back in 2007. Because I think you guys, Jamie had said, hey, you want to come see us play so you kind of know what you're getting so you don't have such low expectations. Maybe, I don't know. But you guys are just up there jamming, and then next we know, about 11 p.m. or so, John Mayer walks on the stage. Tell us about how that came about.
Yeah, so that was, we were just playing at this place called the Three of Hearts. I had just shot a movie called Group Sex, so the poster's right up there, that I produced and wrote. And with Larry Trilling, we co-wrote it together, and he directed it. I love that movie. I don't know how people find it. It's out there somewhere, but it's it's a romantic comedy that takes place in a sexaholic recovery group. Henry Winkler's the head of the group. Tom Oswald. Wow. It's a really fun movie.
Wow.
Anyway, we shot it at the Three Clubs. And when we're there shooting, they were like, we have bands every so often. And that place is small.
It's I call it a dive bar. I mean, it's
total
small.
dive. It's a beautiful dive bar.
It
right?
is. It is. Yeah.
And they have a tiny little stage. And we're like, okay. So I committed. Talk about saying yes, and then months later,
figure it out.
Yeah. So we don't really play out. We only play gigs, and we play here at our own personal great studio, right? Man cave or whatever. So we're playing, and John Mayer, who I had met when the band was rehearsing at a rehearsal space, I went to go to the bathroom. I walk by, and I see a bunch of crew guys just hanging out. And I walk by, and one guy's like, "Hey, man, I love you on Heroes." I was like, "Oh, thanks, dude." Yeah. I go to the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom, and I'm like, that was John Mayer.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, because John is just a great guy. He's a total average, just normal person.
That's so funny.
Who's the most talented
Amazing
guitarist and musician ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the beginning when he was just starting, and but I was a huge John Mayer fan. And I walked back, and I'm like, "You're John Mayer." He's like, "You're Matt Parkman." You know, Heroes.
Parkman, yeah, exactly.
Right. So we struck up this friendship, and
Awesome.
So cut to that gig, and he called and said, "Hey, I know you're playing at this thing tonight. Do you want to? I'm going to come." And I said, "Oh my gosh, sure." Never thinking he would come.
Yeah.
So we're on stage, this tiny little stage. We're playing. James Denton's playing his guitar. I look over, and John is like, going like this, and then he goes, "Can I? Should I?" I'm like,
Yeah.
No,
I can't
stay there, John.
Right.
We didn't know as an audience because there weren't that. I mean, 100 people or so, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, in a tiny place.
Yeah, we didn't know even what was happening until suddenly he's strumming, and I turned to my buddy Vic. I go, "That's John Mayer." Yeah. So no, I go, "Dude, that's John Mayer."
So didn't announce it. He just walked on stage and starts.
Walked
Walked on
playing.
stage, but before I could even answer him, Jamie was taking his guitar up,
handing it to him. That's right, I remember that.
because this is a dream.
Oh yeah.
And he plays with us. He played like 2 or 3 songs, and then gets off, and we finished, and I sat there with him, and he's just one of those guys, man.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I noticed a segue then from that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier epilepsy, and your son Jake will talk about that if you'd like. But John Mayer, I was on your website recently on the talkaboutit.org, and John's on there. Is his tie to that simply you and your support of your family? Is okay.
John is like, anytime you need me, whatever you need.
Awesome.
He's made phone calls for me. He's done every time I ask him to either, if he's in town or whatever. And I got to say, there's so many people affected by epilepsy. It's, it's one of, if not the top neurological disorder besides migraine
1 in
headaches.
26, I think the numbers are.
1 in
on
26 people have seizures or will have a seizure in their life. 3 million people in the United States are dealing with this. It just came out, talking about baseball, it's terrible. That little girl that got hit in the head with a foul ball. She's now got permanent brain damage. She's suffering from seizures. She's medicated. Hopefully she'll get her seizures under control. But that's head trauma. My son was just a perfectly normal, kid, and something in his brain. He started having seizures when he was 7. He's 23 now.
Yeah, doing great.
He's under control. He's got this little thing called a VNS stimulator, which stimulates his vagal nerve, whatever, medication, diet, exercise, takes a nap. He really is aware of his body, and great doctors and stuff. So,
awesome.
This has been our cause, and I realized many years ago that there's a stigma attached. It's scary to see someone have a seizure.
Sure.
So
people don't know how to react.
They don't know how to react, and because of that, there's not a celebrity. There wasn't a celebrity attached or a face that you could go, "Oh yeah, that's like Michael J. Fox does for his."
Right.
So I said, as a caregiver, I'm going to do this, and I've made it my thing, and I've worked hand in hand with the Epilepsy Foundation and Phil Gattone and Ken Lowenberg at the foundation. We started talkaboutit.org, and its sole mission is to inform and remove the stigma. So every celebrity in the world is on there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. We do.
I just thought of John because we talked about him earlier, but I've seen a lot.
But I mean, everybody's on there. Like he comes on, and he's like, "Hi, I'm John Mayer. Talk about it." And he goes, "That just makes me sound like you want me to talk about John Mayer." It's really funny.
That's funny.
It's funny when you're in it, when you're dealing with something, autism, epilepsy, cancer, whatever,
MS, whatever it could be.
MS. You really don't want this reaction. So sorry. It's the worst thing you could ever hear. I can't stand it. Or, how do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you do it? It's
Yeah.
like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's like,
Or in some cases, like MS or cancer, sometimes, you don't look sick. Because
Yes.
sometimes epilepsy,
Well,
you don't know,
epilepsy
but you don't know until
you
the
see a
seizure.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's the other thing. Someone's like, "Well, you looks great." I'm like, "Well, how was he supposed to look?"
Yeah, what am I supposed to look like, right?
Yeah,
Should I put
everybody.
a sandwich board on or what?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's tough, but it's because of that. Like when you are dealing with a condition or a disease or something, it becomes your normal.
Right.
And so when you think about that, you don't want somebody commenting on your normal like it's some weird thing, and you don't want somebody like lightly stepping like on eggshells around
Treat
it.
me like a
Right.
human being.
Treat me like a human being. And I see somebody. We just went up for a checkup, and there's this woman, and she was on this like, if you hurt your leg, you can now
Oh,
there's
the
like a scooter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was like,
exactly.
that's cool. And
Yeah,
she
that
looked
just
at me
happened
and
with
she's like,
my sister-in-law
yeah,
as
no.
well with the ankle thing. She was on the little scooter.
But
for a
this
little
one
bit,
was
yeah.
like, it's not cool. It's not cool. And I go, you look cool.
It looks pretty
I'm
cool.
just saying, you look cool. Instead of, oh, what happened?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You just say, hey, that's awesome.
Yes, because that's
Great
her
that you can still get around.
Yeah, and that normally when someone has something like that, it's temporary. It's for
Yeah.
some,
Yeah.
but still, that's the compassion and the side that my other two boys have really come to just through osmosis and through our lives. That compassion of and understanding where just it's a normal thing. So if you see someone in a wheelchair, go, why are you in a chair? What's going on? If you want to, if you're in an elevator or whatever. And I've been really, it's the thing I'm most proud of is the removing of the stigma, and people say, man, I feel like I'm not alone, because it's very, very isolating and lonely. And when Jake started having seizures, we didn't have anyone to turn to. We didn't know where to go. And the Epilepsy Foundation, believe it or not, you think of these institutions and these big organizations, and you're like, they don't understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Give them a chance.
Well,
There are people out there who
yeah.
want to help.
So let me ask you a question that you may not have been asked from this process, and maybe you have, but because we focus so much on people and relationships in this podcast.
This is really good vodka, by the way.
Yeah, hey, you know what?
Good.
I got a good.
Hey, you poured it.
I got a good bartender behind the bar here. Yeah,
I
exactly.
poured
Yeah, absolutely. People watching and listening, we're all going through trials. We all have challenges and tribulations that we go through. So I'm going to ask you a question: how has your family been blessed by your son having epilepsy?
Well, it's a great question, and it's never phrased that way, which is really
Right. I didn't think it would be.
interesting.
That's why I wanted to ask it that way.
Yeah, it's great. I think we've become closer and stronger and better people because of it, and we've learned from Jake. Jake's done some things that it just blows me away. And I'm a very outgoing person. I'm a no apologies person. Somebody opens the door, I'm going to walk right through it. Somebody says something rude, they're going to hear a rude comment back. I don't care. I just really don't
If
care.
they show you a door, you're going to push it open. You're not going to wait until they open it.
No, not at all. And because of the way he lives his life, you have to be cautious. Riding a bike, swimming, driving. You don't stand and hang out on a set of cement stairs. We've learned that lesson. Jake,
Oh, wow.
We almost
The hard
lost
way.
Jake. He had a seizure, hit his head at school.
Wow.
Had internal bleeding. We didn't know. And I mean, honestly, it was like a total emergency. Had to have another. He's had 2 brain surgeries. One that we chose to get the spot that had the epilepsy, that had was seizing, and then this was just because they had to relieve the blood. It was like that kind of stuff you learn along the way. But anyway, I'm talking about like life lessons and everything.
Right.
One of the most important things, which is really interesting, is time management. And I learned when I was a kid, and I never thought I would ever think about this, right? But when I was a kid, my parents used to do a thing called special time. And there were 3 of us, my brother, my sister, I'm in the middle. Okay. And my parents would go, okay, so tonight is Greg's special time. What do you want to do? And every time it was McDonald's,
Big
bowling.
Mac, baby.
Yeah. So it wasn't like it costs extra money. It was actually, for my parents, I'm sure it was like a relief. It was like special time means cheap night out.
Yeah, he gets it.
Right. I mean, we never went to fancy restaurants anyway, but it's always like, special occasions. This was a special occasion, but in a kid's mind, it was just that time alone with mom and dad. Yeah. When you have a child who has special needs, the time you spend like for overnight EEGs, right, or sleep-deprived EEGs, you have to do a thing called a sleep-deprived EEG. So the only way to see seizures is to create them and put the patient in the situation that would cause them, or they would be more susceptible. So lack of sleep is one of those things. So you have to keep your kid up all night long. You look like the worst parent.
You're staying up all night long.
Yeah, but you go to a 24-hour diner and you're sitting there with your 8-year-old.
Oh my goodness!
At 4 in the morning. People are looking at you like, "Hey, you're the worst dad on the planet. Get your kid home." Exactly. But you have to do it. You have to do it. So we just recently did one, and it's even at 23, it's tough to So we watched. It was either Roots or, like, what are we going to watch? That's the
everything that's been on in the middle of the night. You've probably bought a lot of stuff off of TV too. That's, they're selling to the people who can't sleep at 3 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. But thank God. Yeah. Exactly. If I buy another chamois, ShamWow.
How many brooms do I need, right?
So funny. Exactly. But we kept him up. We watched Endgame, and we took shifts because I had to sleep, and then I get up. And I took him, to the doctor. Whatever. I'm just saying it's one of those things where you go, I was now with my son for 24 hours by his side. Then I spent an overnight in the hospital with him. And we get home, And his brother says to me, "Man, I wish I had epilepsy." And I'm like,
Whoa.
It's that TIME.
and so that crushes you across the jaw, and you realize, I thought I was doing everything right. I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, we were like, okay. And where did I turn? I turned to what my parents did back then. I was like, special time.
Special time. Little dates.
So now I've got to give special time to Sam and to Ben, the other brothers.
Right.
Then you need special time for you and your wife.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
relationships break up because
Right.
all your time is consumed by, taking care of the most important
What
thing,
we
which
focus
is health.
on grows, and what we don't dies.
Yes. But what you do is, though, you assume that you're spending time together. You just forget.
Because we're at the hospital together. This is time.
Yeah. I've been intimate. We've been into, right? No, wait a minute. No, we haven't. We haven't kissed. We haven't held hands. We haven't, like, all of that stuff. Time flies by because you're dealing with all this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, then the kid or the child or the spouse or the brother, sister, whatever, that's not special time. That's the worst time in the hospital. So you've got it. So we started making special time with everybody, and we'd go, okay, Ben, we're going out. And that was really hard because you got a child that you need to care for at home, but you have a relative. We had family that could. So anyway, that's one of the things, the most important thing that I learned is just that balance. And it's a lot of work. And there seems to be no light at the end of that tunnel. Like when you're going through it, you just say, I don't know why we've been blessed with this. I'll put that in quotes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
right.
Why have we been blessed with this?
I thought for a moment about using that word, but I thought that would resonate because there are certainly things that we learn from our trials. Obviously,
it's absolutely appropriate because now coming out the other side, you never really Jake's under control, but I don't even like to talk about it. I literally knock on wood because every time I talk about it, jinxes it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ask anybody who's got a condition that could be set off,
Right.
Even autism was like, oh, how's he doing? And you're like, is he moody? Is it that? It's like, everything's great. Like you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Because then tonight,
so well.
guess what you're going to see, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, absolutely.
So, but it's a great question. Yeah.
So you said balance. How did you balance all of, not just the balance of a child who has epilepsy and then having to have balance with your wife and your other kids and so forth, but you do say yes a lot. Obviously, we're here today.
Yeah.
You've been in a lot of movies. Your IMDb is a very long list of movies. So I'm guessing that you've been away a lot. Obviously, you said that Star Wars you just filmed in London.
Yeah. I have to say, though, I was very, very lucky for a very long time. When the kids were really young, I didn't let my career dictate my family or my relationship. I didn't say, people do that, and I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
They'll say, I can't get serious with somebody until my career is set.
Oh, sure.
No, I got to tell you something, man.
You wait till you're ready for anything, you're not going to do anything.
Right. And those milestones, those moments, they will then, when you put out that into the world, like I am ready for the next step in my career. Because you have to.
Yeah.
When you get married, suddenly now there's like this weird thing. It's not like you're sitting down going, okay, I'm going to do those things I didn't do because now I'm married. No, but these opportunities come.
Right.
Babies bring tremendous opportunities. They do. I don't care if you're in entertainment
Opportunities
or
again, is that what you're saying?
No, but they really do. Like,
What do you mean by that?
I mean that, like, I was waiting. My wife and I were like, "Can we go to the supermarket today?" And it's like, let's check the mailbox. I'm serious. It was like that. We were living in an apartment, and I'm like, the residuals because I was doing commercials. I used to do a ton of commercials, and before I was on a series or whatever, guest starring even. And we would just be waiting for those residuals to come in. And if a residual check came in, I'm like, oh, we go to the market.
Go to the store.
And it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And then you have a baby, and suddenly it's like, oh, I don't know if the world takes you more seriously.
Right. This
or
guy's
you
a
take
kid he's got to
yourself-
feed.
Yeah, but you take yourself more seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just tell people, don't let that stop you.
Yeah.
Don't say, all right, when I'm as an actor, I talk to a lot of actors. I'm like, when I become a series regular, that's when I'll get the ring and I'll commit.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, do what you want to do in your life. Yeah. The career will follow. Everything else will follow. As long as you're hustling and focused, those two things. But, I did, we mentioned, where I was the crazy painted fan.
Yeah, on Goldmember.
Member, Austin Powers. That came because I did a commercial, series of commercials, and I was a Buffalo Bills fan, and I was actually on the Tonight Show for this, and my body was painted, and I had a guy who played my dad and a guy who played my grandpa, and we're all painted. And the end of the spot was, Mom doesn't make it out to the games. I don't know why.
Can't imagine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was for Pepto-Bismol, I think, and it was, and it ran
That's awesome. I love
forever.
it.
It was like a famous commercial.
Yeah.
So much so that Jay Leno did a Super Bowl thing, and he had us up in the stands, up in the audience.
Yeah.
And he was like, the referee calls. He's like, you know, it's always interesting. I watch these games, and I'm like, I don't understand these every sign and everything. It's like a whole other language to me. And he's talking, and then all of a sudden we stand up in the crowd. We're like, yeah, and we got our bodies painted.
Perfect.
So like,
That's awesome.
do that.
That's awesome.
And it's so famous that then like Jay Roach and Mike Myers and those guys were like, okay, you know, in Austin Powers, there was that series of things. And if you look back, by the way,
that
Masioka.
joke series is so funny.
It's so funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Masioka from Heroes.
Yeah.
Right.
He's right before me or
Right.
after me. And we spell Titans. We spell tits and then
And then
Titans.
the- yeah, right.
He's like,
Yep.
come on, man.
Yeah.
And my brother is actually in that with me, Brad, who's he's
really?
a really funny, really good actor too. And he's in that, you know. And that was one of those where I think he went out for the role to be one of the guys, and then they realized, wait a minute, Greg. Oh wait, he did the commercial. So we all got it and did it together. But
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Talk about not saying no. I don't say no to anything. And I early in my career, most things were shot in Los Angeles. I just got very, very lucky. The things that I got, you know, Felicity. I mean, it's J.J. Abrams is my dearest, oldest friend.
Yeah.
And talk about working with people that you want to work with again. I mean, the first thing we ever shot together, we did when we were 9 or 10.
Yeah.
You know, so we've known each other since we were 5. And
Right.
and so anyway, it's progressed where you know that was shot here. Alias. I went straight from Felicity to Alias. I was on both those shows at the same time. The last year of Alias was the last year of Felicity. Was
Overlap,
the first
right,
year of
yeah.
Alias. And then I left the nest and did Heroes after that.
Right.
I was the pilot on Lost, and then Star Trek and Star Wars, and I mean JJ has been, but all that stuff everybody says, man, it's great to have a friend like that. It's like you have no idea. That stuff is so unimportant.
You got to
compared to-
impress the director the first time, like you said. JJ's
Yeah,
not
but
bringing
I'm-
you back.
Well,
if you're,
he's not going to put somebody that's not talented
No,
in
no,
that
no.
spot.
What I'm saying is none of this stuff matters to me at all.
Oh,
Zero.
gotcha.
Got it.
I'm talking about your son is in surgery.
Yeah.
Who do you call? That's what JJ is to
yeah.
me. And so I just want to be around him.
Right.
He wants to be around me. I mean, none of that stuff would be successful if it wasn't for
Yeah.
me.
You are. Well, I mean, you're the
I mean,
lucky
Star
charm.
Wars. Who cares about
Yeah,
Star Wars
exactly.
without
Come on,
Snap
bro.
Wrestling?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the pre-stardom, if you will, for JJ and for you, but that childhood growing up, the two of you. You met each other in kindergarten.
Yeah.
You best friends to this day, X number of years later.
Yeah.
What was childhood like with the two of you? The fun stories about the two of you, or just growing up stuff?
I mean, there are kids that are sort of they're into their thing and they're into their thing. We were both into creativity, just being creative, and he was really into practical effects and creatures and filmmaking, and so you need something to shoot. And I was really into goofing off and making people react.
You were
and laugh.
something that he could put a camera on and
Yeah.
something would happen.
And so that's what we did. And so I would go over to his house and he'd be like, all right, so let's do we'd watch a commercial and we go, let's do a funny spoof of that commercial. And we did that. And then and this was mainly, it came from his mind, you know, and I was the actor in it. And that's how I remember all of it. I mean, I'm sure I was there going, no, we were just having a good time. You know, remember that pitchback game when you're
Throw the ball
throw
and
it
it bounces.
and it
yeah.
bounces back, right? Still have it to this day.
Yeah.
Well, we did a spoof where the pitchback was possessed. So you
Oh my
throw the
gosh.
ball and it
And
would
it
come back at
disappear-
like 200 miles an hour and take your head off or whatever.
Nice.
I remember when the time that I really knew that JJ back then, it just absolutely blew me away. I was like, whoa, there's something. He shot this thing where I'm sleeping, I wake up, I think I'm like 11 or 12, and he's shooting, and this is all just a couple of shots. You will so appreciate this. He shoots me. It was shot in his bedroom, his bathroom, right?
Yeah.
I get out of bed, I walk to the sink, I bend down, I start washing my face, and I get stabbed in the back, and I'm bleeding, and there's blood everywhere, and I fall. No crew, no nothing. We're 12, dude.
What?
12.
Nice.
There's a mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a knife. He's shooting. There's no one else. So
my
JJ's
gosh.
shooting, avoiding the reflection, stabbing me, and squirting blood, and it's seamless. And you go, the camera's not moving.
It's not like you edited
That's
a bunch
crazy.
of times.
No, I mean there are great edits and great shots and
course.
stuff, but
get that shot.
I just remember back then going, okay. And also we did this thing with this doll that was possessed, like a Chucky kind of a doll, but it was across the room, and then it just flew across the room and attacked, and you're like, how in the world at that age?
And
do
that's
you think of
pre-digital.
doing that stuff?
Like that's
No
that's
digital.
That's
We did
shot,
little
like,
stuff with
you
Super
shot
8
for
stuff.
shot.
That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
Super 8.
Yeah.
You're
That's
right.
crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
I remember, so J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, who was a brilliant filmmaker. These were all our friends growing up. Mark Sanderson is a great writer. But Matt and J.J. got plucked. They were in this thing, Gerard Revell. It was public access, and it was highlighting kids that are filmmakers, young kids. And so they were showcasing Matt and JJ and Mark and Kathy Kennedy, who worked with Spielberg and everything. She's Amblin and everything. Right. She sees this, and Steven Spielberg had all of his Super 8 movies when he was a kid, and they were all deteriorating. Whoa. So she saw this, and she said, and Steven Spielberg said, I want to say Steven, but I've met him a few times, but I don't know him.
Steve,
like
Mr. Spielberg.
Yeah. But he's, from the relationship he and JJ now have, I know, and I've met him a few times, just a wonderful, wonderful guy. Yeah. He was smart enough to say, no, I don't want a professional film house to fix these. I want these kids who are working with this material every day. Whoa. So Kathy calls and says, Steven wants to give you this, and you want to fix the splices and fix them. So I remember sitting in JJ's room, and he and Matt are on the floor, and they're splicing together, and they're cutting out stuff that's broken and dusty. Yeah. And I'm like, that's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even watch. I don't remember watching any of them.
Yeah. You're watching the process more than.
Yeah. And then I've told you guys, off camera or whatever, I steal stuff. I love look around my man cave here. I mean, every opportunity I get, I'll take something from a shoot, and it's turned into a great thing because
the car lot out there.
Yeah, the car lot. The cars. I mean, I'll tell you some car stuff that from projects that I've been. I love it, and I'll buy, not steal. I buy stuff if I can or whatever, but I'll steal stuff too. Anyway, even back then, I'm 10, going, can I have that? Because they're throwing away a couple of
and you're like, give me
splices.
that. Give me that strip.
Right.
A little piece that says this was Steven Spielberg's student, kid stuff.
Yeah.
No, JJ and Matt were like, nope. Everything's going back. They didn't take one thing. They were so respectful, and I know obviously we all were, but I just remember just sitting there going, this is our dream director. This guy, he creates our creative minds. He's molding us as he's the legend, and they're working on his stuff. And now JJ and Steven have worked together. That's
crazy.
JJ, at the premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, he called out Steven, and he was like, I just want to thank Steven Spielberg for his friendship and for what he did, because they show each other the movie, and they'll show me stuff, and I sit there and I'm just, but
they're looking at it through a set of eyes that only those two guys can look through.
Yeah, but the problem is that's so inside baseball. It's so
secretive, right?
Right.
No, I'm saying it's you're so in the forest you don't see normal.
Right.
It's like I'm in the movie, or I'm this close. I'm friends with JJ. There have been times when I'm sitting there. There was one time especially where Mission Impossible, I'm sitting in the editing room, and it's me and JJ and Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise,
like,
what? No big deal.
I'm such a huge fan.
Right.
We work together, but still, and the movie ends, and they go, okay, what do you think? And I've taken notes. And I think one of the things that I think JJ appreciates.
I think Tom should do this differently. You're probably saying, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. And that's what I'll say. Of course. Like, why do they want me to go, great, you're
right.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
man.
The movie that I remember, like, it was the first time I ever saw, and I told him this. I said, I did not see Tom Cruise. Like, you made me not see Tom Cruise in this movie. And I remember appreciating that so much, because I really thought that Ethan this character, was going to die. He really made me believe this is the end. And it's hard to do. In a movie like that, or Bond, you're like, he's never going to die. This was like JJ and
is this where the franchise ends, right?
Yeah. And Tom gave JJ his break. JJ had not directed a major motion picture before Mission Impossible. Yeah, he fought for him and gave him that. I mean, I don't think JJ would he would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has such a vision. He's so brilliant and creative, and I think he just said, no, this is our guy.
This is
and
the
went
guy,
to bat for him, and obviously he wasn't wrong.
He must have seen the bathroom video of the bloody knife or something. So that's my guy. When he was 12, that's the guy I want directing me.
That's right. So you've met so many people.
Yeah.
Is there still people that you're like starstruck by?
Athletes.
I knew you were going to go there. Yeah, we talked about that the other day.
Yeah.
Entertainers
no
want to be
disrespect.
athletes, and athletes want to be entertainers.
Yeah, but no disrespect to actors. I'm not saying anybody can do it. Look, I just worked with Al Pacino. That was a moment that I was like,
Yeah, that's got to be.
Paterno.
Oh,
Paterno,
wow.
Yeah, I played
right.
Scott Paterno, and he played Paterno. And that, to me, was like, hanging out in the house for 4 weeks, shooting all those scenes with Al Pacino. And the other actors were incredible, too. But
it's Al Pacino.
We were all like that. And, of course, a guy like Al Pacino, Al's just prepared.
Yeah.
And it's like, as soon as the barrier is broken, which it's very early, he's just like, no, you have to be able to, if I'm doing a scene with you, I have to be able to turn around, fall back, and you catch me. And I don't care if you're the Al Pacino or you're the one line in the thing. We're working together.
Yeah, you're a team.
And he makes you feel that way. Barry Levinson directing. I was so intimidated. And after the first half a day, I was laying into Al. I was like, yeah. What did he say? He said something. He said, because I was wearing a fat suit.
Okay.
I'm still wearing it.
Yeah, me too. I was
wearing this huge fat suit. Like, you look at the movie and you go, oh my God, it was great. It was like transformative, really awesome. And my walk and everything. And because Scott Paterno, who's now a friend of mine, a very heavy
not a
guy.
tiny guy.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of weight, but back when we were doing
when you're shooting that era.
And so Al says, he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, yeah. He pulls me off to the side. He goes, after this, you might want to consider losing some weight. And he was serious.
Oh, he didn't know.
He knew. I mean, could not have known because we hung out.
Right.
We had a couple of days where we were reading over the script, but I guess. Anyway, I was like, yeah, and Al, you should get a nose job. And he goes,
Nice.
No, you didn't.
And he goes, this is not my nose. This is a fake nose. I'm like, dude. And he goes, no way. Comes up to me, feeling me. I mean,
It's great.
like dream.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
hilarious.
Guys like that, I always think, they're going to forget me or whatever. The best ones never do. Tom Hanks, any of the people I've worked with, they're just, and maybe it's me, maybe it's like, oh, I'm easy to remember or something, but at the premiere, which was months and months later, HBO put this great premiere on, and I was there with my kids, and Al was like, Greg, there he is.
Wow.
Stock just went up a little with the kids. Your wife's like, hey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My son's like, it's Scarface.
Dude, Scarface just called you Greg.
Right.
Hello? Yeah.
I mean, it's those moments. So I've met a lot of people. I learned, so I started, not even in this business. I started, and I mean not as an actor. I was Joel Silver's driver. So I was a driver, literally a personal driver for one of the most successful producers.
So you're around the industry, but not in it.
Yeah, but I found myself in this car, in this SUV, driving. It was one night that I picked up, and these people were in and out of the car all the time, meeting with. Joel was one of the biggest producers, still is. And I remember, and I'm going to get this wrong, but it's almost exactly. Madonna, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Demi Moore, Bruce Willis, who else? Cindy Crawford, all in the car together. It was after an award show.
Wow.
And they all got in the car, and Madonna played her new video. And so I had to make sure that the sound system and the video, it was like back then, and it's state of the art, and she was going to show it to everybody. I think that's what it was. It was either that. But anyway, I had all those people in the same car at the same time, and I'm driving on Mulholland.
Oh,
and
my
of course,
gosh.
no one knows I want to be an aspiring actor.
Where's
So I was
social
like,
media when you need it, right?
Yeah, or where I could just drive off that cliff and give myself a hell of a lot
There you
more
go.
opportunity
Yeah,
in
that's
Hollywood.
right.
All of them, they were all, in various degrees, but all of them just normal people. You know, it's like, so I learned, not that I grew up in LA, so there's always celebrities around, but I mean, you just learn. These are all normal people, and they hustle and they focus and they do what they do, and they get better every time. I mean, you look at all of those people. Yeah. I mean, Stallone, I don't know. I haven't really seen it. I love Stallone. So but he, we've all done our share of like things that are, they keep just getting better and they hone their craft and whatever. So I learned back then, don't be intimidated. But athletes, like actors, you can become a great actor. An athlete, it's a God-given thing. You're born with it.
Yeah, it starts at 5 or earlier. Yeah.
So when I meet, someone, Luis Gonzalez, we were talking about, or Ron Say, or any of these guys that I've been fortunate enough to befriend and meet, it just blows me away. I just feel so lucky to be around them. And then, baseball players, you'll attest to this. This is the weirdest thing. Baseball players have the worst ability. They just cannot make eye contact, and it's because
You watch an interview, they're looking around.
yeah,
they
you know
never
why?
look-
Because they're used to standing on the sidelines. They're all facing the field, and they're having like a really intimate conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
with the guy next to him over here. But
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
as they're watching the game.
no. I mean, you know, well, she's gonna get better, and the hip's gonna get fixed. You're like, dude, this is a conversation you and I should be locked.
Looking in my
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
Locked.
Right.
They're so used to having a really great conversation just looking out. It's so funny. It's one of the weirdest things, but all of them, athletes, they blow me away. I just they had Star Wars night at the Kings game.
Kings
Saw
saw
that,
that.
yeah.
So I was
Saw
like,
you in your jersey there out on
yeah,
the
they
ice.
made me
That
a
was pretty
Snap
cool.
Wrestling jersey and whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there with Luke Robitaille, who is a hero of
Yeah,
mine. I mean, I
absolutely.
grew up with the Kings when he was playing.
Robitaille, heck yeah.
The man.
Yeah.
And now he's like the head of the Kings, one of the heads of the
president of the team.
organization. So anyway, that kind of thing, it's just, I'm still like, but I don't get nervous a lot. But
Yeah.
those, when I work with incredible, Harrison Ford, I mean, like working with
Oh, yeah.
Carrie Fisher, those people, it's after 10 minutes, and I've learned,
Yeah.
just be yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
It's on them.
You've obviously been led by, mentored by, instructed by dozens of people that we've just talked about today.
Yeah.
When you go back to Greg at 16, who's your mentor? What are you learning at that point? I know JJ and you were close, and certainly
My
the admiration
father.
for your friend. Tell
No,
us about
my
your
dad. Yeah, my dad he's the best. He's like one of the best salesmen I've ever met. It's interesting. Like you look at someone like me and you go, oh, he's a real people pleaser. Like I care about people.
Right.
I'm compassionate. JJ's incredibly compassionate, and I'm a people pleaser only that I want people to be happy.
You want people to be pleased.
Yes. I don't care what people think of me. I really don't, because I know I'm a good person. I try to be, at least. But back in the, you pick that up from your parents. My dad he always took a chance on himself. And to a fault, sometimes, he would start a business. He was one of the first people to get into the solar energy business. He was in the clothing business. Like we call it the schmata business. It's like the roller coaster ride of the clothing business is highs that can be really good. But then, I sold, whatever, 10,000 jeans to this department store. They're sending them back. Like it's a weird business.
Yeah.
It's like
Sort of like a restaurant industry to a certain extent, where it's just peaks and valleys.
Yes.
And you can't predict when the peak or valley is going to come.
yeah. I mean, you pour your heart and millions of dollars into a restaurant location, and you're only as good as the last omelet you put on the table.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What are
One
you
bad
talking?
omelet and no one's coming because everybody's talking about it.
Yes, it's like, and it's like that in especially. Well, it's like that everywhere.
Yeah.
And you get one chance, and now with Yelp,
One bad movie.
Oh, man.
yeah, one bad review, one
Oh, I
bad
know.
movie.
Yeah.
Movies though, even like I've been in a couple stinkers, and you go, well, it's not on me, or even something that I have a new movie that we're just finishing, a couple of them, but one is called Max Reload and the Nether Blasters. So I have a new movie that I produce and star in called Max Reload and the Nether Blasters, and it's like a flashback to 80s arcade games and
Yeah, it's an
console
old
games.
arcade game.
Yeah, and it's made up, but it's
It sounds familiar to me. So okay.
it's like the character who curses the world, a ColecoVision game, and the cartridge was lost forever because of this. And some kid finds it and plays it and unleashes this evil on the world.
Wow.
I created the game back in the day, so my son Jake plays me in this montage of
fun.
like,
That's awesome.
where my head got swollen and I was driving a DeLorean and I had girls on my arms. Whatever. Back in the day, it's like that's why it fell apart. And Joe Reitman plays my partner back in the and Kevin Smith is in the movie. There's a bunch of really great people in the movie, so I'm excited about that. And that's a little movie, and I'm trying to remember where I'm going with this, but like that's a little film that I just absolutely passionate about and love.
And new
Well, you talk about
projects and
movie
stuff.
reviews, like one bad movie review, he says, and you're
Yeah.
like, well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but because you
That's
don't,
not going to make or break you on that
as
one
an
because
actor.
of the history.
I mean, in Hollywood, it is the same as a restaurant, though. It's like, oh, his last thing was, where he's not really in touch with what's happening out there until you are,
Right.
And then suddenly everybody copies you.
Come back.
Yeah.
So
it's
what's
just
your
gotta
all-time
push it.
favorite movie that you weren't in?
That I
that you wasn't
in.
in.
Ooh, that's a good question. Wow. All-time great movie that I wasn't in.
Deserted Island. You're taking this movie with you.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, clearly I shouldn't be a pilot in any movie or a TV
Yeah,
show.
they all crash.
Crash and Lost.
Yeah,
true.
Crash and
Yeah.
Lost, crashed in.
But
Star Wars,
in The Force Awakens, you didn't crash.
I didn't in fact crash in The Force Awakens, but but I went down pretty hard
Yeah, you
and The Rise of Skywalker. But I was a good driver in Stars Born, so that
There you go.
I can get in front
And you're
of
a driver
vehicle.
before you're in the industry too, Madonna.
That's right.
And all these other people.
Exactly,
So, yeah.
exactly. I mean, I just look at movies that I'm just jealous of, like Big, a movie like that. It's all Tom Hanks, or Gump.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just
man.
classics.
Classics that, like, how do you
Simple
not
classics.
get inspired by
Right.
Forrest Gump?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
100%.
And we quote it every day, chocolates, and life is,
all of
everybody
that.
quotes that movie
At
constantly.
the end of the year, so we, for New Year's, we went out to dinner and we're sitting in a restaurant, and it was just so great. All my boys and our whole family, my wife, were sitting at this table in this restaurant that we love called Local Peasant, and and there's one at Sherman Oaks, one out by us.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're at this restaurant and we're sitting there, and my son was like, "Top 5 movies of all time."
Whoa.
Like, let's
Wow.
do that real quick.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
You can't.
No.
It's
Yeah.
5.
5 of them.
You have
5
to pick 5.
right now. Tell
No
me.
way.
Okay.
I can't.
No, top of your head. Just tell me.
I'll tell you.
What movie? And here's how I gauge that.
Okay.
What movie, if you come across it on TV,
Do you stop and watch?
you have to watch the rest
Shawshank
of it.
Redemption every time.
Boom. I said that. My other one is The Untouchables.
Okay. Godfather. First.
That's not for me, although it's so good. Top 5. Dude, 5.
Field of
Yeah.
Dreams and Shawshank are 1 and 2 in reverse
Field of
order for me.
Dreams,
Yeah,
I
how do you
didn't even-
not
oh my
think of
gosh,
that?
it's so good.
Exactly.
Sandlot.
Oh,
So
yeah.
most baseball movies. Sleepless in Seattle, because my wife and I, that's like our movie. We saw
So
that.
good.
We see Sleepless in Seattle the day after we get married. Talk about Tom Hanks. So we're married July 3rd, 1993. 4th of July, mid-morning, we go to the movies because we're not leaving for our honeymoon for a week. And so we go and we go see Sleepless. The first scene is Tom Hanks and his wife at her funeral. We got married less than 24 hours ago.
Oh,
That became our movie instantly.
right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you go Caddyshack.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Blues Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Animal
for,
House.
For me, Animal House. Then you we're way past 5 now.
Stripes.
Stripes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my top 5 become 15 in about
I know.
a minute.
Easy. And then there's just so many that like touch you, and and then there's oddballs ones that you go. It's not even a guilty pleasure.
Howard the Duck. No, just kidding.
Howard the Duck. But like movies that you say it didn't really it didn't reach everybody that same way, but it
got
really
me.
reached you.
When in Time of Life and the thing that it connects with you
Right.
at that moment, right?
Willy Wonka.
Oh, yeah. Which
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why
Gene
Sleepless-
Wilder.
Sorry, Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah, but Gene Wilder. I mean,
Oh,
forget
yeah.
about it.
Oh,
And then
ridiculous.
with the other Chitty Chitty Bang Bang for me.
There you go.
These are movies that
Yeah.
escapes. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is the only movie that has a intermission in the movie.
In the movie.
In the movie, you're
I
watching
never
the movie, and
recognized
and a picture of the flying car comes on, and it goes bum 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 bum, and it says intermission. So
That's
now
awesome.
you at home, you're like,
What do I
I
do?
should go.
Yeah, I guess I gotta go get
I gotta go
popcorn.
pee.
Yeah.
Come back,
Oh,
and it's
that's
still
so
on.
funny.
I mean, they
Yeah.
run it. It's not like it goes, intermission, then they go back.
Yeah.
So there's
Crazy.
a million things we could still talk about.
I think
but
it
obviously,
could go forever,
yeah,
but we're getting
yeah.
It's part 1.
It's
Yeah,
part,
part
one.
one.
Part 1.
And the
Yeah.
part one,
Part
I
one.
like
A
that.
couple things I'd like to get to. There's a question I always ask at the end that I'll save for a couple minutes from now. What have you not done that you still would like to do? And I don't mean like an actor you want to act with unless that's where you want to go. But is there something that you've looked at? We're about the same age. You're early 50s. I'm a little bit later than that. There's got to be something out there that you're still thinking, not that you haven't like arrived, because you have, but is there some project or something that you've not ever done that you'd maybe like to try?
In my career, it would be, there's 2 things in my life. Family, I could not be happier with where everybody is and everything. Just, stay healthy. So if there's like a couple of things that I haven't done that I want to do, I'm very happy with my career. If I could remain this 7th or 8th on the call sheet for the rest of my life, I'd be the happiest guy. I just want to be working with great people, and I've been very fortunate to do that. But I'm such a car nut, and there's a show called Wheeler Dealers, and Mike Brewer is my hero. I've been watching it since they were in London. Now they're out here, in the UK. Now they're out here. And he just sent me a DM. He was like, I saw you in Star Wars. And we've gone back and forth a couple times. But another guy that I'm like, he goes, we should have coffee. He's so smart, so funny, and I love cars. So I would love to open up, and I love Broncos. I have Broncos. I have each generation. I have a couple. I have like I have 2 of the full-size Broncos. I have one from a 69 Bronco, the old classic one. And then I just love that car. So I would love to open up a place with this, my mechanic, Dennis. I mean, it's such a personal thing, but this is what I would love to do, is open up a place where Dennis does his thing fixing up cars, but we also fix up Broncos and bring back, maybe convert them to electric, a couple of them. But they're such great cars. I have one in the parking lot here that I just love that we redid. And so that is something. And then also I'd love to go on tour with the guys that I'm doing the band with.
Yeah.
Fun.
That would be such
awesome.
a pleasure.
That'd be very popular too.
But more than anything, it's just the hang. Like, they're just good people.
It's like athletes. They say, "What are you going to miss when it's over?" It's the time in the locker room. It's the hanging. The on the field stuff, but it's the hang time.
No question. I mean, these guys, Jesse Spencer and all these guys, Bob and Scott and Brad and Chris and Barry and everybody. Sarah. They're the best people in the world. And I don't have like guys. I don't play poker. I don't play golf except when I'm in tournaments or something, celebrity tournament. This is my thing, is playing with the band, and it's such a great outlet, and it feels good. And if I could be doing charity work, and like, it's crazy that that's charity work. I mean, with the new band, the action figures, it's not charity work, but anyway, I love people. So anything like that. My podcasts, I love doing that. I love the graphic novel I have, and producing. So I just keep going the way I'm going. That's what I want to do.
What's next for the podcast? I know you've talked about 3 in particular, but the one that I listen to religiously is the Corner Stories.
Yeah, so Corner Stories, for people that don't know, is about small businesses and the struggles. And it's the American dream. It's the, it's the British dream. It's everybody's dream is to work 24 hours or 28 hours for yourself rather than 8 hours for someone else, because it doesn't become work. It's a passion. And those stories are just so compelling to me. The people are so compelling. I love the people that take chances on themselves. Podcasts are an example of that. I mean, I don't care how big your audience is. You always want it to be more. So it's not about that. It's about reaching people, touching people, learning
stories
stuff.
And relationships. That's why I'm doing this.
Absolutely.
Why we're doing this whole thing is about the relationships that we have. And we're continuing to grow.
So I've got that, and then I've got Talk About It, which is the epilepsy podcast. There's so many compelling people and stories and caregivers, and it affects so many people, like we've talked about, families and businesses and just how it, any condition, and it's not something that we should hide. It's something we should talk about because it really informs and helps other people. So that's why it's called Talk About It. So it's an epilepsy driven centric podcast, but at the same time, I mean, I just interviewed Hum Fleming, Ian Fleming's granddaughter, right? She has epilepsy, and her epilepsy makes it so she can't remember anything longer than 6 months ago.
Wow.
So she's living in the last 6 months. That's it. Yeah. She has relatives come up to her, friends come up to her, and she's like, she has this blank look on. She's like,
And she's how old?
Oh, she's 20, I don't know, 26, 27, 29.
That's tough.
Yeah, beautiful PR, like in the fashion industry, like PR person, whether she's on camera a little bit or whatever, comes from this. I mean, you can imagine the people that she's around, the stories that she told. And so it's those kind of things where you go, wow. And it affects so many people that I don't care who you are, white, black, this, that, rich, poor, whatever. Everybody's affected by this. So there's so many great stories. So Talk About It, Corner Stories, and, and then who knows past that. But the graphic novel, Dream Jumper, that's another thing that I just love reading to kids and going into the classrooms, and that's in the Scholastic catalog, and it's Scholastic put it out. Yeah, that's awesome. It's a hit. It's like it's done really well. Yeah. That started, I know we're running short on time, but my son Ben, when he was 12, he had a nightmare, and he woke up, and I was putting him back to sleep, and I said, "What is it?" And he goes, "It was so real, Dad. It was so real." I'm like, "Tell me." He goes, "It was like it wasn't my nightmare." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "It was me. But I was able to jump in and out of my friends' dreams and save them from their worst nightmares."
Wow.
And I was like, that's
Dude,
the coolest
you're right
thing
that
ever.
That's a whole new story right there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That is brilliant.
So Dream Jumper was born, and now we have 2 books. I partnered with this guy, Lucas Turnbloom, who's brilliant illustrator and storyteller. We wrote it together. He did the artwork. If people have kids of anywhere from 8 to, I mean, adults love it too. So I'm trying to turn it into a TV series. It's really fun.
That's got legs.
It's got legs. It's really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. So all that stuff, I just want to keep it rolling and drive my old cars. That's all.
And then drive your old cars.
I've turned into my dad.
Todd, you get the second to last question if you have anything. That you
second to last question. I mean,
ask him.
I think you talked a lot about hustle, and I'm curious. your journey in acting and in this entertainment industry parallels with the entrepreneurial journey for entrepreneurs. It seems like it should. Is that accurate?
Yes, but you have to focus, and I learned that. JJ, actually, we had a conversation about that. I'm very into tech, right? And when the apps first hit on the App Store, everyone was like, "What is this?" Whatever. I immediately
the first on everything.
Yeah, and I was one of the first to come to create a mobile coupon app.
Yeah,
with this guy August and Rick.
We saw the commercial.
Yeah, we saw the commercial.
Yeah.
Going back to, did JJ shoot that? I was thinking of the Yowza commercial.
Yeah, we shot that.
We won't show, but we'll.
It's pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
Pretty funny.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was from taking a spoof from
Dollar Shave.
Dollar Shave
Yeah.
Club.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
But we, I was like, oh, jump on this. And so I devoted 2 years of my life. I got over 1 million people that download it and use it. And it was a mobile coupon app. You push a button, shows you all the coupons around you. You can set a wide net, a small, if you're in New York, you just want one block, whatever. And it felt like that was it. And I ended up selling that business. Thank God. I was like, but that's because that's not in my
wheelhouse.
or in my lane. You know?
Yeah.
And so I'm really good. If I get an idea, I want to take it all the way. TV idea, whatever. It may not work, but I want at least someone to go, or 10 people in the industry to say no. And I'm like, okay, let me focus on something else.
Yeah.
But it's all about that focus and the drive. So now everything that I'm trying to do is entertainment, or at least staying on that. Even, the podcasts to me that's entertainment. People are
absolutely.
so it's interesting. It's like opportunities come, but make sure that they're organic. It's okay to say no, because that old adage, one door closes, another door opens. You only have a certain amount of bandwidth and time, and if you're spreading yourself too thin, you're not going to be able to really focus. Like I have a meeting come up, then I have to get this idea. Ben.
Yeah.
My son Ben, I'm not going to say he's my favorite, but he's come up with a couple great ideas.
Yeah, he's had a couple of good ideas. Yeah.
And he came up with an idea for a show that I was like, that's the most brilliant.
That's awesome.
And I will share it off mic with you guys. Holy crap. And I shared it with my agents. They were like, what?
Who came up with this?
Yeah. So we're going out with it soon. And it's that kind of thing. It's like, I just want to stay in my lane, work with people I love and do this. I mean,
have conversations with people. Yeah. You're a people guy, and that's obvious. And when I met you 13 years ago, that became very apparent.
Yeah.
This is part one. We certainly will, at your wishes, we will come back and do a part two.
You guys are welcome to my bar anytime.
Hey, you know what? I mean, the vodka's great. And so,
you're going to get an invoice.
Yeah.
Okay, don't worry. There's a bar tab that I'm
so
keeping.
We really are going to do the whole you scratch my back.
We better wrap this up quick. Wrap it up. Let's go.
He's done. So the name of the podcast is From the Hart.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the goal here that we have is to get into the heart of the people that we talk to. What you're doing is on Google. What you're doing is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
We can look at your IMDb, as we've talked about. But when you think about whether it's in your career or what you're doing now, just kind of off the cuff, what's in your heart right now, Greg?
Oh man, an appreciation for people like you guys, knowing people really, and my family, and just being lucky that we're healthy and happy. That's in my heart. I'm not, and maybe it's to the detriment of my career at times, but my heart is right here. It's always been right there. Yeah. I'm not this mysterious guy.
Nobody looks at you and goes, "What's Greg thinking?"
Yeah, or even at least like there are actors. Bradley Cooper is an example, right? Bradley and I did Alias together. He's one of my closest friends, and there was a moment when he was just like, I'm not being used enough. And I said, dude, we both know that you are super, super talented. I said, dude, look at yourself in the mirror, man. I don't know if you're going to kill me or you're going to hug me or he's one of the most handsome.
Poker face.
Not poker face, interesting face. Like you go, I don't know what's going on. Even in like some of the comedies he's done, he brings it in such an interesting way. He's so good. I don't have that. I know my weakness.
Like Silver Linings Playbook. That was one of those.
Silver Linings Playbook. But that's like beyond. Like that's Academy Award winning. Stratosphere
but still,
stuff.
it kind of that's how I saw him. In
but Wedding Crashers?
Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers, you're like, is he a nice guy? Oh, he's an asshole. Oh my God. Yeah. Like he's just so brilliant in that way. I am not mysterious. I am like
what you see is what you get.
Yes, and I'm the best friend, and that's who I want to be in life. That's who I want to be in my career, and I'm just going to keep doing it.
That's how I knew I could reach out to you, because that's the vibe I've gotten
absolutely,
from you.
And it's just about schedule, and it's not with everybody, man. You have a good heart, dude. This is
no pun intended, right? Yeah.
No, you do. I mean, you.
Thank you.
The jury's still out.
Yeah.
Jury's
time will tell.
He's good looking. And
see if I can get a Bronco here. We'll see.
Exactly. So let's So part 2, when we get together, we'll talk about all the stuff I've stolen from movies.
There you go.
And my car obsession.
There we go.
We'll talk
Absolutely.
about that. Thank you.
Greg, I can't thank
Awesome.
you enough. We can't thank you for your time.
my
today. This is
pleasure.
a joy to just hang out with you. I've actually forgot the microphones and the cameras were here because
Yeah,
it's
it's
such a
good.
fun conversation.
So much fun. Anytime. Love it.
Thanks a lot,
Greg.
man.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
Dude,
Good deal.